95. Between local lines, notes from the Emirate.
World Humanitarian Day falling on the 19th of August every year, and if we were to look at the world of humanitarianism here in the United Arab Emirates, in July 2021 alone, the UAE's foreign aid accounted to 80% of the overall global support for countries affected by the pandemic, and we've provided, in terms of the numbers, over 2,154 metric tons distributed across 135 countries. But speaking of our Emirates in particular, Sharjah's The Big Heart Foundation has always been at the forefront when it comes to humanitarian work. And to discuss this and to celebrate the day, we have Alya Al-Musaiebi. She is the head of media at the Big Heart Foundation. A very good morning to you, Alya.
Hi, good morning, everyone.
Well, it's great to hear from you. Alya, now let's start talking about World Humanitarian Day. What is the significance of the day for your organization?
Sure. Thank you so much for having us as usual. So the World Humanitarian Day, celebrated on August 19 every year, honors all humanitarian workers who are saving lives and helping the most vulnerable in crisis worldwide. This day is dedicated to the selfless contributions of thousands of selfless individuals around the world who put their lives in danger, working to support those most in need. The UN has estimated that 1 in 33 people worldwide will need humanitarian assistance this year. This number has tripled, unfortunately, in just 7 years. So such days are essential to draw attention to and raise awareness of the main drivers leading to forcible displacement of vulnerable populations worldwide. This number, it has touched 82.4 million at the end of 2020. For this year, the theme of the World Humanitarian Day focuses on the severe climate crisis that has gripped several countries across the world. As with any form of crisis, the climate crisis too does not affect everyone equally. It is the people in vulnerable communities who are extremely impacted and losing lives, homes, and their livelihoods. Time is running out for millions of the world's most vulnerable people, and we need to work together to ensure that meaningful climate action is implemented globally to help those who need it most.
And Alya, how does the Big Heart Foundation plan to observe the World Humanitarian Day? Any special programs or initiatives that the organization has undertaken?
So let me speak about our perspective as an employee, or let me speak on behalf of my colleagues at the Big Heart Foundation. There is no denying that the past year has been an extremely challenging year for all of us at the Big Heart Foundation and for aid workers around the globe.
Certainly.
The human and economic impact of COVID-19 has been devastating on vulnerable populations. But there are other ongoing humanitarian situations too that continue to require our full attention. Our team has stepped up efforts together with our partners just to make possible the continuity of essential services in regions impacted by conflicts and other emergencies, including climate disasters. Last year, let me say, for instance, 39 projects were focused solely on providing support to victims of floods and natural disasters. So today we're celebrating and honoring the precious work of our staff members whose strong commitment and determination to the work they do have eased the lives of thousands of people across the world.
Now, the other thing is, it's amazing in terms of how, despite it's such a big day, everyone's still working. You're going to be, apart from celebrating the work that you've achieved, you will still be out there. So, one of the big challenges that the world of humanitarian work faced was the logistics of getting to places during the pandemic, especially. Talk to us about the pandemic. Was it an opportunity or was it a challenge for your operations?
To be honest, it is the sad truth that even before the outbreak of the pandemic, marginalized and displaced people were exposed to grave social and economic inequalities. COVID-19, it has only worsened their condition. So all the measures, temporary lockdowns and partial or full closures of borders, it led to difficulties in accessing decision makers while travel to these regions and communities that were also disrupted. As you know, the Big Heart Foundation works to bring changes at the grassroots level. This requires us all the time to be physically present on site to carry out humanitarian operations, which was a major challenge due to restrictions on travel and movement. COVID-19 measures imposed by various nations also cut into our efforts to reach supplies at the usual scale and speed. Sustainable financial resources was another main concern since the onset of the pandemic, as most of the donors, to be honest, have cut back on development and humanitarian aid programs. So the funding gap is widening, even while needs of the vulnerable communities are becoming more complex. But despite these challenges, we were able to ramp up efforts and strengthen our local and global partnerships to touch more than 800,000 lives in 15 countries with 39 humanitarian projects. The Big Heart Foundation infused more than 39 million dirhams in projects that impacted 7 sectors, including on healthcare, education, infrastructure, offering protection, improving livelihoods, and fulfilling basic needs in addition to emergency aid and relief.
This brings me to the next question. Now, for the Big Heart Foundation, it welcomes support, of course, from all around the world, especially through donations. But if I want to get involved further than that, much further than just giving a donation, for example, getting involved in volunteering, what do you advise me, for example, what are the volunteering activities that I can get involved in, or anyone can get involved in with the Big Heart Foundation? Can you talk to us about the activities and the projects and the initiatives that volunteers can take part in?
Sure. Let me tell you first, working to improve the lives of the less fortunate will seriously broaden your perspective and impact your ability to handle sensitive situations. Like for me, for example, on my first site visit to one of the refugee camps, I was crying seeing all the babies and their situation. I was crying seeing all the mothers, and it was very bad. But if you're gonna ask me now, after working in the Big Heart Foundation for almost 5 years, I'm much stronger. I can really handle these sensitive situations, and I'm so blessed to be able to improve the lives of the less fortunate. So having to take on roles such as camp management or coordinating services, it naturally leads to stronger leadership skills. It also increases your ability to adapt to different cultural demands and behavioral expectations. There is so much to learn, to be honest. For example, the resilience of people who have lost everything and continue to live in hope. This is one of the first things that I really learned working in the Big Heart Foundation. Being a humanitarian professional allows you to bring about real and significant change where it is needed most. This is both motivating and inspiring to me. I believe that our moral obligations to our fellow women, men, and children should not be bound by borders. As the COVID-19 pandemic has demonstrated, a threat to one is a threat to all. This is why I'm gonna use this opportunity, and I'm gonna urge all the listeners to Pulse 95 to do your bit in whatever way you can to the larger cause of humanity. Even a small good deed can bring a ray of hope or brighten someone's world. We have a lot of opportunities. We have a lot of ways on our website, on our social media platforms, and we can also brief you about all these details by calling us or by emailing us anytime.
It's a very important point that you mentioned. You were talking about this. You said that it also contributes to your well-being as well. So it's not you just giving back to the community, but also contributes to self-development as well as a human being. So it goes both ways. It's amazing.
I remember when I came back from Bangladesh, it was my worst visit, to be honest. It wasn't worse as much as it was the most harder. It was so hard. It was really hard. We were starving. We weren't able to eat anything for 5 days over there. It was so hard, honestly, but it's the most amazing and inspiring experience I've ever learned from. After coming back from Bangladesh, really, you can, everyone told me this around me. They told me, Alya, we can see how this visit affected you personally. Now you are appreciating every single blessing you have in your life. Like some of the blessings you have, you don't even treat them as a blessing, unless you miss them. So when I came back from this visit, I started appreciating every single thing I have in my life, the small and the big ones. This is what working in a humanitarian field make you feel. It's so inspiring. It's so motivating. It makes you literally a different person.
No, it definitely does. And I think the significance of the day also means that we celebrate the work that your team and yourself do. So here's a little bit of an appreciation from Pulse 95 for your team as well. Well, Alya, thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Last sentiment, let's say the general sentiment or the last message to the public that you would like to say, Alya, on the importance of working in humanitarian organizations or giving back in general.
So as I said, anything from your side, any small or good deed can bring any ray of hope or brighten someone's world. We do have a daily dirham campaign that can do a lot to many people. It's only 1 dirham per day, but it can help a lot of vulnerable communities. It can help a lot of displaced people to live a dignified life. So don't think like 1 dirham will not do anything.
True.
Believe me, it does a lot. It does a lot. I know I handle all the budgeting stuff for the projects in different countries. 1 dirham can provide a full day meal to one kid. Can you imagine?
Yes, it goes a long way.
Don't ever think that 1 dirham will not do anything.
That's amazing to see and hear as well from the budget's point of view as well. Thank you very much for joining us this morning, Alya, and we wish you all the best and happy Humanitarian Day to you and your team.
Thank you so much for having us. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for being with us.
That was Alya Musaiebi. She is the head of media at the Big Heart Foundation. If you'd like to catch up with this discussion, you can do so on SoundCloud and Apple Podcast. The Morning Majlis shall return after some more musical entertainment as we continue to appreciate the wonderful work of humanitarian workers as well as organizations. You're listening to The Morning Majlis, only on Pulse 95.
If you liked this episode of The Morning Majlis, drop a like and subscribe.
95.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram for all our daily updates and top stories.